Well, so let's start downloading TRMM datasets with R. So the first things first, we need to launch R in our terminal, and there we go. So R is up. Now we're going to need a series of libraries. One of the libraries is the raster library. So I'm going to try and launch that. Well, I got an error because I probably do not have the raster library installed. So what I would do is install.packages raster dep is equal to true. So there you go. Now it's going to ask me to choose my respective CRAN monitor. I go for my university most of the time, so that's what I will do here now. And yeah, so it's downloading. Now my packages are properly installed. I'll go for the other one, which is rjadal. I'll load that. Well, it's loaded. I'll go for the raster. I installed it but didn't load it, so I hope there's no error. That's fine. Now I'll go for another one, which is the R curl, which obviously I'm a little not sure if I have it or not. Well, there's no package by the name, so there I go. I install this one too. I'll change the one there, and there I go. So there it goes, the installation. So now I'll obviously load the R curl library. It's properly installed, properly loaded, and then I want to get to the FTP site through R to fetch my the datasets that I need. Now here's this FTP website, which is ftp:/disk2 nascom nasa.gov data TRMM and gridit, and there's these variety of datasets with 3812 version 6, 3825 version 6. I have no idea what they are, by the way. And then we have got the 3B42 version 6 and version 7, which is the daily precipitation records. Then you've got the 3B43 and version 6 and 3B43 version 7, which are the monthly precipitation accumulated precipitation records for the entire globe. Now this is where you get them. Like if you get into the directory, that's 3B43 version 7, you see 1998 to 2014. There is obviously some samples available. If you would like to have a look as to how they look, you can pretty much open that sample in your browser, considering the fact that if you've got a better internet than the one that I've got. And this is how it goes. It's like rainfall, which is nil, and there's rainfall which is high. Here you can see over the Bay of Bengal a bit, and then obviously there are places where it's like moderate rainfall in the tropical rainforest regions. Well, that's quite enough, obviously, in millimeter per hour. So that's significant. It's about a millimeter per hour of rainfall in the high intensity areas, which is very high, and the maximum goes around 1.4 or more than 1.4. Now getting back to my R interface, I'll load a particular URL into into a vector. Now when I type URL, then the next thing that I need to do is I can call it anything that I want, but I would rather be happy calling it a URL because it's a URL and it's an FTP URL that I was talking about. So what I'll do is I'll paste the FTP URL in inverted commas in this place. You can note this down. It's ftp://disk2.nascom.nasa.gov/data/trmm/gridit/3b43 version 7 for the year 2012. Let's do it for 13 maybe. And that's in my URL. So if I type URL again, it gives me the FTP that is loaded as a vector in it. The next thing that I would like to do is to bring this R curl into URL into use actually. So what I'll do is I'll get the file names sorted, and obviously I want a certain pattern of file names only. So I pass the necessary commands, which is file names get URL And what I want to do is, from the URL that I just posted, ftp.usc.epsv is equal to false, ftp list only, so I only want the list, is equal to true, and that's a bit of a problem. CRLF true. There I go, and I think I've typed everything correct. I hope there's no issue. So I'm trying to load file list from the above URL on my into a vector again. I hope that gets done quick. Just in case you're wondering that about the use of ftp.use.epsv false, which is mean that I'm not willing to use the extensive passive mode. Now there's this passive mode that you have to activate when you want to download datasets from FTP. There are people who do that, like you used to use command line interfaces for FTP access. Today, these days, we have FileZilla available, so most people don't bother to do it programmatically. But you want to avoid the extensive passive mode, because it's going to take a lot of time to load information, and then it's going to delay the entire process of downloading datasets. So I've set it to false, and you want to get the list only, so that's true. And well, it's a custom request that you have sent, and then when I type the file list, well, the entire list has been printed here. So this quite long list that's there. But if you see in the list, there are things that sort of are a little mixed, like this accumulation, there's start bin, there is gauge relative weighting, and there's a lot of things that I see in there. So probably there's things that I don't want, and there's things that I would like to have on my hard disk. So I'll try to figure out what's the more appropriate, and I obviously need the accumulated precipitation for month, every single month, so that would be a total of 12 files. I don't need the gauge relative weighted and stuff, so I'll try to omit that. So to be able to do that, I'll pass another set of commands which are like file names, paste URL, string split. I want to look at all the file names that I just stored in a variable, and over that what I want to do is I actually want to look at them at every new line level for every individual file, backslash n backslash r static. There you go. And then I would obviously do the needed with the number that is not, and then you've got separator, which is obviously none, and then you enter enemies string split file name. You go again, file names. Now it'll give you the file names, and they'll put them all in separate lines. Actually, before that they were not in separate lines, so they're difficult to read. So first things first, I've got the file names, but then there are file names which have got like precipitation, there's precipitation accumulation, and then obviously gauge relative weighting. So what I want to do, so what I would like to do is I would like to get this accumulation file only. For that I need to tell our curl, but all this thing is actually being done by our curl right now. That's the R package which is able to deal with FTP and HTTP requests and get those data downloaded to our hard disk. So what we would do is we'll rather go for file names. So we are redefining the same variable again. We are adding more information into it based on file name is equal to file names grep general regular expression processing of Linux, file names pattern is equal to static precipitate. Static means everything before precipitation dot accum accumulation, and there you go. Now this is the line which actually defines the file names and the patterns that so it's a general regular expression processing. So we are processing this expression here, and we're looking for precipitation at the beginning of the file name followed by dot accumulation. So we're trying to get rid of all this information in the variable, and once we have the file listing proper in a variable, we can go ahead and continue with the proper download. So what I'll do is I'll verify the spellings. I think it's good. Now if I look for file names again, well, let's go, it's cleaned up. Well, that's great. So I would like to try something else. Probably I'll try to file names 1, or I'll take file names dot bin, and I would go for the precipitation dot bin here, and I'll see what it does. So when I do that, I get another vector dot bin with something's wrong there. Static dot precipitation dot bin. I made some mistake here. File names bin, something wrong. Static precipitation dot accumulation was fine. Well, obviously there's a mistake, because what I've done is I've already stored in my file names this precipitation dot accumulation. So when I try to look for dot bin, now I'm actually looking into this previous vector that I had just created, so it's giving me null results. But obviously that would not be possible, because this vector here stores this information, and the vector which was previously there stored the other information. So if I had named every single vector differently, probably I would have been able to get the list propped up. So just let it be for the time being, and what I'll do is I'll try to list the variables that I've stored with me. There are variables that I don't need, say for instance names bin, so I'll remove that. I'll check for the variables again. I've removed that, and then I'll do the dot bin again. I'll remove that too, and when I see, then I have two of the variables, of which the ones that are there these are the ones that I want to download. Now what I would do is I would use another function using mapply, which is a function which you can apply over a list of values. That's what we have. So I'll apply this download function over the list that I have here. So it's download dot file names base name file names. There I go. And what it's trying to do is it's trying to download into my R base directory all the files which are up there. So it's going to take probably a few seconds, and the files will be downloaded. Well, there it goes. It's downloading the files in my base directory, like you